Before the incredible game that was It Takes Two, there was a little game called A Way Out. Maybe you've heard of it, or maybe this is your first time hearing about it, but one thing's for certain. This game is absolutely awesome. It's also co-op, and you can play it locally or online, and only takes about 6 to 7 hours to complete. Honestly, if you have a friend or significant other you can play this with, I highly recommend that you do. The same goes for It Takes Two for that matter. A Way Out is perhaps the strangest platinum experience I've ever had. There are only 15 trophies, and that includes the platinum, which is a lot less than the usual 50-ish trophies for other games. On top of that, the trophies themselves are also very strange. There are no story trophies, and there are no collectibles. All the trophies are for doing random, obscure stuff during the chapters, and you can get the platinum like an hour before you've even finished the game. A Way Out tells the story of Vincent and Leo, who are both in prison and plan to escape. Their motivations aren't just freedom, but revenge. It's also surprisingly emotional, and even though we only played it for about 6 hours, I found myself getting really attached to the characters. When you boot up the game, you get to choose which character you'll be playing, and there's a short summary of each character to give you a better idea of their personalities. I played as Vincent, who was calm, rational, and precise, and my friend played as Leo, who was really just a loose cannon. The game starts with Leo already being in prison and Vincent just arriving. Whether you're playing online or local co-op, the game makes very clever use of a split screen, which means that you can always see what's happening to the other player. In this instance, Leo got to see my white cheeks get an overly aggressive wash before both of us made our way to our cells, which just so happened to be right next to each other. The next bit begins with us walking around the prison yard, which is where the first trophy of this platinum awaits us. Hands down, the hardest trophy in the entire game, and it's not even close. For the trophy, the player controlling Leo must set a new dip record, and to do this, he'll need to do 20 dips, which is genuinely not as simple as it sounds. To do a dip, you have to tap square really fast, and the higher you get, the harder it gets. Like I said, technically Leo has to be the one that does it for the trophy, but to make sure I deserved the trophy, I took on the challenge as well. This trophy demanded serious physical resilience. My hand was in pain, my forearm was cramping up, and my face was contorting into all sorts of expressions.
Were you having a wank?
Do not take that out of context, you brain-rotted degenerates. Pro tip for you though, when you get tired you can just stop and take a break. The character will just idle until you start tapping again, so you're welcome. Wish I knew that before I tapped myself into a lifelong arthritis prescription. At least the pump was crazy though. My friend even got to 18, then accidentally pressed the wrong button, cancelling his attempt, which was hilarious to witness.
What an idiot!
But he tried again, and we finally got the trophy. But the highest trees catch the most wind, or however that saying goes, and Leo gets jumped shortly after breaking the dip record. His attacker says he's doing it for a guy named Harvey, but I think he held the previous dip record and was just fuming after he lost it. Please don't tell him I also broke his record. Oh, for fuck's sake! Good thing we're competent at quick time events, so we beat them up without any issues. After the fight, Leo tells Vincent to stay away from him, which is exactly what I did the next time he got jumped. I'm a good person though, so I gave in and helped him anyway. A giant mistake really, because this guy is the freaking Terminator apparently. Imagine taking a frying pan to the face and not even flinching. Things weren't looking good for us, but fortunately the guards arrived just in time to save us. Shout out to this guard in particular. Talk about taking one for the team. We were beaten into the infirmary, which is where Leo finally decides to thank Vincent and asks us to help him steal a screwdriver. I distracted the nurse while my friend snuck his way to the screwdriver, which was way too easy now that I think about it. Smuggling it out was less easy though, so Leo hid it on a roof outside a windowsill so we can retrieve it later. Vincent tries to convince Leo to let him in on his plan, but Leo is understandably reluctant. He gives in later that night and agrees to become partners, and we see the game's title card, which is always nice. Leo pulls some strings to get us a job on the roof where he hid the screwdriver, but there's a guard in our way however, so I lure him away by breaking my broom and asking him to get me a new one, giving my friend an opportunity to climb up and get the screwdriver. Leo hands the screwdriver over to this guy, who then smuggles it back to our cells later by hiding it in a smutty book for us. This leads to a fun but intense section where one of us keeps a lookout while the other works on removing their cell's toilet and vice versa. After that, we wait for lights out before crawling through the openings we've made behind our toilets. We look for a way out,
He said it! He said it!
but soon find ourselves blocked by a massive drop that we're not capable of climbing down. Conveniently, the laundry room is connected to this part of the prison because video games, so the plan is to get our hands on some sheets and knot them into a makeshift rope so we can safely climb down. Our master plan is to have Leo hop into one of the laundry carts and then Vincent will fill it up with sheets for him to hide under. Then the guard will take the cart into the back room, which is where the vent is that we need to smuggle it through. Only one problem: the gap is too high, so Vincent needs to get into the back room as well. We achieve this by instigating a fight which draws the guard away from the door. Leo unlocks the door from the inside and we work together to reach the gap and stash the sheets. Yeah, there's no way this works in real life. Later we're back at the big drop and climb down using our newly acquired bed sheets. With the help of a flashlight we found laying around, we navigate through the maze-like innards of the prison until we get to a dead end with the only way left to go being up. We climb up by going back to back and shimmying our way to the top. I'm pretty sure Vincent at some point admits that he got the idea from a children's book he read when he was younger. Coordination was proving to be a challenge, but I'm convinced that my friend was doing it on purpose to see if he could make us fall to our deaths. I respect it, but he'll come to regret it in time. When we reach the top, we're blocked by a hatch, so our escape is postponed until we can find a wrench to open it with. I assume Leo pulled some more strings behind the scenes because next thing you know, we're working in the woodshop. I distract the guy who was using the wrench and Leo takes it right from under his nose. We bypass the metal detector by passing the wrench through another vent in the wall. I'm beginning to think that the prison architect wanted prisoners to escape because this is just ridiculous. We make it past another security check, this time by passing the wrench through a window.
He's in on it.
The warden seems to suspect the architect too, because when we get back to our cells, he's there to conduct a surprise inspection. With some sleight of hand, Leo manages to pass the wrench to Vincent, who could then hide it behind the toilet. With everything ready for our escape, we have some time to kill before the lights go out. We get to see Leo's wife as well as Vincent's, who is very pregnant and understandably very upset about Vincent being in prison. Little did she know that we were about to escape. Night falls and we're back at the hatch, opening it up with the wrench. We sneak our way to a locked door and by timing it with the sound of the thunder, we bash through it without alerting the guards. We step out into the fresh night air and proceed along the rooftop into the warden's office, where our second trophy is waiting. All we had to do was let the warden's parrot out of its cage, and that gave us the trophy. We continued sneaking through the prison until we got to this watchtower. We knocked out the guard and stole his coat hanger so we could zip line to freedom. But Leo's fat ass managed to snap the line. He slams into the side of the building, alerting the guards and forcing Vincent to do his best Captain America impersonation to save him from a deadly fall. We make our temporary escape into the mountains, officially fugitives on the run. Before long we reach a blocked-off bridge and we get the first of several instances where we must choose between Vincent and Leo's suggested plans to overcome a problem. Leo's plan to steal a police car and speed away sucked nuts for reasons I don't need to explain, so we opted for Vincent's plan to sneak under the bridge instead. Picking Vincent's plans would be a common occurrence throughout our playthrough because Leo's plans were genuinely horrible and would result in what I expect to be a meme of a playthrough. We cross the bridge but Leo gets spotted and Vincent has to rescue him once again. Things go pear-shaped when the guard's gun goes off, which leads to them setting the dogs on us. We race down the mountain and make a dramatic escape, and I realize that my friend is a better person than I am because I would have let him fall to his death at least once. The chapter ends with a cutscene which is where we get to see Harvey for the first time, the dude who's been trying to get Leo killed in prison. He's busy trying to sell a massive diamond called a Black Orlov when he finds out that Leo escaped from prison. I think that might have made him angry because the very next thing he does is murder the potential buyers. Just guessing though. After being on the run the entire night, Leo and Vincent are probably exhausted, so we decide to let them take a breather, which also gains us our third trophy. After taking a well-deserved rest, we continue down the mountain and come across the remnants of a campfire next to a small but fish-filled pond. Seriously, the fish-to-water ratio here is insane. Leo and Vincent haven't had anything to eat yet, so we catch some fish, revive the fire, and have a little chat. I didn't mention this earlier, but Vincent also has beef with Harvey, and it's here where Leo asks him what that beef is exactly. Vincent was working at a bank and his brother brought Harvey in as a new client. Harvey wanted Vincent to launder his money, which he happily did for a while, but when the risk got too great, Vincent wanted out. Harvey didn't like that and killed Vincent's brother as a warning. Vincent still refused and planned to get revenge, so Harvey framed him for the murder of his own brother, which is how he wound up in prison. Until now, Leo and Vincent were just working together to get out of prison, but they extend their alliance until Harvey's been dealt with. Further down the mountain we find an old couple's farmhouse and we come up with a plan to steal some new clothes and a car. The plan is to draw the couple out of the house by letting their horses out of the barn, and then we can go in and get a change of clothes along with a few trophies. Before we go into the house, I climb up the windmill and give it a good spin for the first trophy of the chapter. Inside the house there are 2 more trophies for us to get. For the first one we started a 2-man band and played a few notes until the trophy popped. The next trophy was a bit of a secret one, where both of us had to interact with this clock at the same time even though there was no prompt to interact with it. Doing that opened a secret door with a chest behind it, and opening the chest gave us the trophy. With 3 more trophies added to our collection, we finally change clothes and head out to the car. There were a few things we had to do to get the car going, and right as we got it running, Grandpa started shooting at us. Luckily he aims like my friends in Call of Duty, otherwise we would have been done for. The police are quick to react however and begin to chase us again. Let me tell you, these policemen had no concern for self-preservation whatsoever the way they were ramming into us. They laid a successful spike trap which sent us flying off the road, and after watching this clip a few times I have to say, unless Leo has some of those Spider-Man grip prongs all over his back and ass, I have no idea how he managed to stay on the back of that truck. Regardless, somebody left their boat right next to where we crashed, so we attempt to lose the police by going downriver. We should have thought it through a bit more because things go south when we start approaching a waterfall. Leo successfully abandons ship, but the same can't be said for Vincent, who hangs on for dear life after going over the edge. He ultimately gets rescued by Leo, and once again I realize that if it were me, I would have left my friend to fall to his death. Having successfully evaded the police, we take a minute to hear what Leo's history with Harvey is. Leo used to be a jewel thief and was working with Harvey. Remember the giant diamond Harvey was trying to sell earlier? Well, that wasn't the first time he tried to sell it. Leo and Harvey were meeting a buyer for the diamond, and after the buyer gave Leo a suitcase full of cash, Harvey shot the buyer and ran over Leo, knocking him unconscious. By the time he woke up, he was surrounded by police and got an express ticket to prison. Before we go after Harvey, Leo wants to see his wife and son. They live in a trailer park, so I'm starting to get why Leo was trying to sell illegal diamonds.
A man's got to do what he's got to do.
There are 3 easy trophies for us to get in this chapter, the first of which is for joining these guys playing baseball and hitting a home run. Next, we sat on a swing and looked at each other like 2 morons until the next trophy popped. For the third trophy, we had to help this lady find her husband, and let me just say it wasn't hard to find him. You won't hear it in the video, but the noises coming out of this trailer were, how do I put this, passionate in nature. The woman was screaming a lot, so I knocked on the door to make sure everything was fine, and Cletus assured me everything was. We had a hunch that Cletus might be the husband we were looking for, so we reported back to the lady, which prematurely gave us the trophy. Of course, we followed her to see what happened next, and I'm 99% sure she committed a double homicide, which is fair, honestly. I would have liked to get a few pointers from Cletus before his sudden passing, but fate had other plans.
Fuck.
We find Leo's wife just as the police arrive at their trailer. They ask her a few questions and tell her the classic, "Let us know if he tries to contact you," as if she's about to snitch on her husband. The police leave and we go down to say hello, but Leo's son Alex is struggling with mixed emotions and runs away. While Leo goes after his son, I help his wife repair a motorcycle, after which I get us another trophy. Leo patches things up with Alex, and after shooting a few hoops together, we set off to find a guy who knows where Harvey is. We go looking for him at the construction site where he works, but he immediately bolts when he spots us. Chasing after him through the construction site was a lot of fun, and while chasing him, it dawned on me that this game somehow has better parkour than the modern Assassin's Creed games. How is that possible? Anyway, when we finally catch him, we tie him up and start torturing him. Actually, no, that's not true. We start threatening him with torture until he tells us where Harvey is. There's also a trophy here for doing specific things that triggers Leo to kick him off the edge of the building. It didn't really happen though, it was just a daydream, but after we threatened to hurt his family, he tells us that Harvey is in Mexico. We were just bluffing, of course.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
Now that we know where Harvey is, we're going to need guns if we want to take him out. Fortunately, Leo knows a lady who dabbles in the illegal distribution of weapons. Unfortunately, we're broke. Relatable much? So we go rob a store, which goes down smoothly. Mostly, anyway. And then skedaddle. We go to collect our guns, and we get to choose from a small selection of weapons. After we leave, the lady makes a phone call to Harvey and snitches on us. Customer service really just isn't what it used to be. The other thing we need is a way to get to Mexico, and you wouldn't believe it, Vincent knows someone who can help with that. We stop at a telephone so he can call his contact, and Vincent is informed that his wife has gone into labor. As if the timing wasn't bad enough, an assassin also pulls up and starts shooting at us, or rather everything around us, because his aim is garbage. In this section we had to make clever use of cover to get close enough to the assassin. Once Leo got close enough, he dropped down on top of the assassin, allowing Vincent to close the gap and force a 2v1, resulting in the assassin's demise. We rush to the hospital to see Vincent's wife, but before we see her, we pop a few wheelies in a wheelchair and I fall asleep while watching a documentary about the moon landing, which bleeds into Vincent's dreams, setting up our next trophy. Now that our urgent business had concluded, we visit Vincent's wife who has already given birth, and for some reason Leo thinks it's okay to just walk in with Vincent like he's part of the family. At least it doesn't take him long to realize how awkward he's made the situation, so he leaves the room so they can have some privacy. He sees the police pulling up to the hospital and warns Vincent that they need to go. We get separated as we make a run for it, and we get to play a very cool section filled with smooth transitions between Leo and Vincent's perspectives. During this section, Leo shows us that his fists are rated E for everyone and just straight up knocks out 10 people in a narrow hallway. Vincent makes it back to the car, but Leo eventually does get caught. As Leo is getting dragged out of the hospital, Vincent causes just enough chaos for Leo to make a dash for the car, and we speed away. We arrive at the hangar where our platinum as well as our plane to Mexico are waiting for us. Trophy number 13 had us take a break from reality by playing some arcade games, and for the final trophy all we had to do was go out the back of the hangar and get into this helicopter. Leo showcases his piloting skills and the Mayday trophy, and my 31st platinum makes a rough landing. The Way Out was the strangest and most unserious platinum I've done to date, and like I said at the beginning of the video, there's still about an hour left before the end of the game. If you were only interested in the platinum, thank you for watching and please leave a like if you enjoyed. But if you'd like to see the plot twist and conclusion of A Way Out, stick around a little while longer. We finish prepping the plane and take off to Mexico. When we get there, we jump out of the plane and make our descent. Unfortunately for Leo, and by extension my friend, his parachute fails to open and it's up to me to save him from certain death. And I realize that my friend is a better person than I am, because I would have let him fall to his death at least once.
My time has come.
Apparently, Leo falling to his death isn't canon, so I guess I have to save him the second time. But if I knew we were about to look this goofy, I would have let him fall again. In the end, it doesn't even matter, because I somehow managed to fall short of our landing spot and we both die. You could say it was instant karma and you'd probably be right. On the next attempt, I stick the landing and we use those guns we got earlier to fight our way to Harvey. When we eventually reach him, he's wounded and trapped and tells Leo that the enormous diamond is still in his safe. He is telling the truth, but he only wants to get to the gun that's also in the safe. His plan worked and he managed to catch Vincent off guard and now has him at gunpoint. Vincent, however, had no plans to become a victim, so he smashes Harvey through a glass cabinet, giving Leo a clear shot. Leo's shot wasn't fatal, but the same can't be said for the 20 that followed. Killing Harvey doesn't go down too well with all of his goons, and we have to make an intense getaway on a pair of bikes. Intense, partly because the scene was designed to be that way, but mostly because these bikes handle like utter Keeping this thing on the road was a challenge rivaling Melania from Elden Ring. Leo loses his bike during the chase and hops on the back of Vincent's. By the time we reach our plane again, it's already barreling down the runway and we have to make a dramatic leap into the plane. What's supposed to happen is Leo jumps in first and then he has to help Vincent so he can jump in after him. What actually happened was my friend's brain momentarily stopped communicating with his fingers, so he never helped me into the plane and I got left behind. Leo flew off into the sunset while Vincent likely got tortured to death. The second attempt went significantly better, and this time we both made it out alive. Bad news awaits us at the end of our flight though, because upon landing we are immediately surrounded by police. The captain takes the diamond off Leo and then hands Vincent a gun, revealing that Vincent has been undercover this entire time. Through flashbacks we find out that Vincent's brother was indeed killed by Harvey, so at least that part was true, but under very different circumstances. He was killed during a sting operation, posing as a buyer at the same exchange where Leo got run over by Harvey. Back in the present, Leo grabs Vincent and uses him as a human shield while walking towards a police car. Leo drives off with Vincent still at gunpoint, but Vincent makes a move and the resulting struggle sends them off a bridge and into the water below. They both escape the sinking car and swim up to the surface. Leo hijacks a boat, and Vincent gets picked up by a helicopter and follows in hot pursuit. The pursuit led to this building, which is where the game's climactic showdown takes place. After being buddies and helping each other the entire game, it really left a bad taste in our mouths when we had to go up against each other in a head-to-head. We take shots at each other while progressively moving through the building until we make it to the rooftop, kicking off the final showdown. Eventually, a QTE segment triggers where Vincent and Leo take turns beating the life out of each other. As if doing that wasn't hard enough, the game sprinkles in flashbacks from both their perspectives that focus on their families, showing what's at stake. The brawling culminates in a dramatic race where we both drag our bruised bodies toward a gun. My friend makes it there first and shoots Vincent right in the chest. As Vincent takes his final breaths, he hands Leo a letter and asks him to give it to his wife. While all this is happening, the most goosebump-inducing music is playing, but I unfortunately don't have game audio in my recording, so you'll just have to trust me. Sometime later we see a bearded Leo drop off Vincent's letter and we find out exactly what he wrote. In the letter he apologizes for abandoning his wife during her pregnancy and promises that he'll quit his job so he can be there for her and their daughter. Vincent gets honored at his funeral and Leo leaves town along with his family, which is where the game ends. Even though I had played A Way Out a few years ago with another friend of mine, I was just as emotionally traumatized the second time around. My friend felt the same way and wanted to see the other ending as well. We reloaded the last checkpoint and played the final part again, this time making sure that Vincent gets to the gun first so that Leo would be the one to die. Where in the other ending Vincent gave Leo the letter, in this ending it's more just a respectful goodbye. After everything, Vincent goes to Leo's wife and tells her what happened, which goes down just as well as you'd expect. Vincent goes home and hands his wife his letter of resignation, pleading for another chance. The cutscene does give the impression that his marriage will likely be saved, which is great, but it's not great seeing Leo's wife and son mourning alone at Leo's grave just before the credits roll. For us, both endings were hard to accept, but the ending where Vincent dies felt like the better ending for us. I can't explain why, but it just felt more right to us. Either way, A Way Out is an incredible journey and we had such a great time playing it together. So once again, if you are able to play this with a friend, do it. You won't regret it. As always, thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed. Consider subscribing for more platinums and feel free to check out some of my older videos. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.